Hey guys, my name is Chris Crease. I am a commercial photographer and videographer based out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. If you haven't been to the channel before, I do commercial photography and video for clients based here in Tulsa as well as around the country. I wanted to talk to you guys today about the lenses that I've used for the past months on the Sony a7R. These lenses also work with the Sony a9 II and the Sony a7R IV. These are the lenses that I've used personally that have helped me get the job done when it comes to shooting editorial, event work, and commercial photography. So without further ado, here is my list of the best lenses for 2019 for your Sony camera. Now, these lenses may differ from your personal choices depending on what you shoot, but given my experience, this is what works for me. Hopefully you find some value from it. If you do, be sure to hit the like button, and without further ado, let's get into the list. So the first lens I want to talk about is the 24-70 G Master. It has been my favorite lens to use as far as event coverage because of the low light aperture at f2.8, the fact that I can get a wide angle shot at 24, I can tighten up at 70, and the versatility it gives me versus switching between lenses. It is one of my most reliable and one of the lenses that I reach for most often. Add to the fact that I can pretty much take the majority of the shots that I do day to day with this lens, and it is one that I feel is essential to the kit. One of the lenses I've used the most this year has been the 70-200 f2.8 G Master, where the 24-70 falls short, the 70-200 picks up, and it allows me to have further range. It allows me to isolate subjects, and when it comes to event photography, this lens is a must. It gets the job done, and it does so with beautiful colors, sharpness, contrast, and bokeh. If I had to pick two lenses to keep in my bag at all times, it would be the 24-70 and the 70-200. The third lens on this list is going to be the 85 f1.4 G Master lens. I rented this lens out from Lens Rentals for a weekend to take some portraits, and the colors and sharpness I got from this lens was amazing. With things like contrast, it performed spectacularly. It had an aperture ring which allowed me to manually control my aperture, which was really useful. And as far as video work, I did a little bit of video work with it, and just having the flexibility of being able to adjust the aperture right there on the dial ring, it is super useful. Very, very good lens. However, it is a little bit heavy, but if you're just using it for portraits, if you're not putting it on a gimbal or anything, it is a wonderful lens. Number 4 on the list then is going to be the 85 f1.8 lens. So it's not a G lens, it's not a GM lens, but it has amazing autofocus. It performs well in low light still, even though it doesn't have the f1.4 aperture. It weighs less, and I find all of those features to be a fair compromise versus the f1.4 aperture of the G Master. It is one of my favorite lenses to use. You get so much out of it, and it allows you to really get these wonderful portraits of different subjects that are very flattering and look very well to the eye. Plus, the contrast and the color and the sharpness from this lens are really outstanding. One of my favorite lenses on this list is the lens that I'm using to film this video, and it's going to be the 50mm f1.4 lens from Sony and Zeiss. It is outstanding. It's what you expect from Zeiss. It is the colors, it's the contrast, it's the bokeh, the fact that I can open up the f1.4, it allows me to do things where the background around me is blurred out and I'm still in focus. The autofocus is fantastic. It is one of my favorite lenses. I've shot with this in Seattle, and now that I have it here, it is pretty much my favorite lens to go to when things start to get really dark. You can pretty much shoot in low light, especially when you combine it with the a7R's low light performance, and you get outstanding results. It is a really killer lens. I would recommend it to anybody who is looking for a 50mm. That said, it is a little bit heavy, and so there is the 55mm f1.8 from Zeiss as well, which it has similar performance to the 50mm f1.4, but it's less weight. And so that is something that I did love about the 55. I just sold it recently because I got the 50mm f1.4. I found that for me, I need all the light I can get at the things that I shoot, and so I would rather have that than the 55. If you love everything I just said about the 50mm f1.4, but you don't like the weight or the size of a bigger lens, then go for the 55 f1.8. It takes everything that I just said that's great and wonderful about the 50mm and puts it in a smaller package with the drawback that you're going to f1.8, but it still gives you that amazing contrast, amazing color, amazing bokeh at 55mm. It is an outstanding lens, and it is one of the lenses that I used the most when I had it. Add to that it's a very lightweight lens, and if you mount it on a gimbal, you're guaranteed to get great shots just because of how easy it is to balance. You're not overworking the motors. It makes it very easy to put and set up and get the job done. So during the year, I shot a little bit of sports photography, and that gave me the chance to use the 100 to 400 f4.5 to 5.6 G Master. This was a very unique lens because of the weight of it. You definitely want to have a monopod for it, especially when you're using that to help balance the camera and lens and be able to track your subject more efficiently without having to kind of lift your hand up and then scope it out. It was a beast of a lens, but it allows you to definitely isolate whoever is on the field and get the shot and make sure that everything's in focus with very fast autofocus performance, like blazingly fast autofocus performance. And if you really want to take that lens to the next level, or if you need a little bit more range, add a adapter to it. So you get the 1.5 or the 2x adapter, and it'll give you an extended range at the cost of multiplying your aperture as well. So whatever your aperture is, multiplied times 1.5 or 2x, and that will be your aperture in conjunction with multiplying your focal length. It's a trade-off, but the performance is still worth it. So the one lens on this list that's a little bit different from the others is the Sigma 24mm f1.4 art lens. What this lens allows you to do is, just like the 50mm that I'm shooting with right now, it allows you to shoot in low light situations, and it gives you a wider field of view that allows you to incorporate more of the surrounding elements into your story of your shot. So when you're framing, and if you're like out on the street at night, you're doing street photography, this allows you to incorporate more of what's surrounding your subject and incorporate that into your shot. It's really good performance. It's a little bit long, but it does the job, and it does it well. One of my go-to lenses throughout the year has been the 24 to 105 f4G lens. The range of this lens is perfect for situations where I don't need to carry both the 24 to 70 and the 70 to 200. If I'm shooting in daylight, I really can use that to advantage of I don't need to be open all the way at 2.8, and if I'm mounting it on a gimbal, then it's just so much easier to mount that versus a heavier lens. So all those three things combined, it just makes it a really good go-to lens, especially if you're just taking photos through the day. The fact that it has optical stabilization as well makes it easy for those moments where if you're moving around and things might be a little bit shaky, you can stop down a little bit, or you can open up your shutter to a slower speed, and you can make up for that with the optical steady shot plus the 5-axis image stabilization of your sensor. The final lens on this list is going to be the Zeiss Batis 135 f2.8 lens. It is a prime lens. It is part of the Zeiss Batis line, which if you've seen other videos, you know how wonderful the performance of those lenses are. They're talked about a lot here on YouTube, and what I love about these lenses is just colors, the contrast, and the bokeh. You can see how it swirls behind the subject, especially if you're shooting, a person and you have trees where you have some sort of pattern behind them, and it just makes your eyes go straight to the subject. I find that so useful in my storytelling when I'm composing photos and you're just looking for a way to add something different, something unique to the image. It helps. So that's it. those are my picks for lenses for 2019. These are the lenses that I've used the most and the lenses that I am a fan of. I hope that this list helped you out in some way of what would be good for your workflow. If you like this video, be sure to hit the like button. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure to hit subscribe. My name is Chris. I will see you in the next video. Take care.